Hey Gemsies, welcome back to my channel. We've got another exciting video and we're just gonna jump right into it. You already know that I love Ali. I'm gonna leave her details down below. Please do check her out. I'm sure you already know about her, but she's talking about a very important topic that a lot of people do not like to talk about. You know, women, we suffer from this, and a lot of times we don't want to call it as it is. So yeah, I'm very excited to jump into this video. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well. We are building a generation of marriage-minded women. So if that sounds like you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come join the community. Let us go.
Let's call it what it is. It's verbal abuse. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about sign language, which was a concept developed by Kevin Samuels. It is the tactics that women resort to in the middle of an argument when they have lost emotional control. They begin with shame, insults, guilt,
and the need to be right.
But let's take a closer look at that concept. Is that just an emotional tactic, or is that an abusive tactic? And if women are doing it to men, boyfriends, and female friends, because female bullying is too real, then they might be doing it to their children. And that is
Lord,
part of my
say that again.
I believe that if we intervene in women's lives, we can create well-rounded women who can create well-rounded children, because statistically speaking, children are going to be in the custody of women. And child abuse is pretty rampant, especially in single mother homes. So let's get into this subject. We're going to start with a clip by Lisa Romano, published author and life coach, on verbal abuse, so that way we can break it down a little bit further for men to digest, because men are also victims of verbal abuse. I will be transparent. I've been verbally abusive in the past in my relationships, but that's probably why they didn't work out, and that's probably why I need to continue to do work on myself so I can make sure that I'm not abusing my partner, because people don't want to look in the mirror. But human nature is human nature, and feelings are really hard to control. If we practice enough times, we can get good at it. So if you like my content, make sure you give it a big thumbs up.
We got it.
Subscribe down below and hit the notification bell. Let's jump into this.
Relationship with overt narcissists.
Let me bring the volume up a bit.
Get good at it. So if you like my content, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell. Let's jump into this clip.
And if you're in a relationship with overt narcissist or an overt narcissist, undoubtedly a toxic person, you are being emotionally abused and verbally abused, and essentially language is being manipulated to cause you psychological battery.
Look at that word choice.
I love that.
Psychological battery. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in the video, but there are some studies that indicate that verbal abuse can be as psychologically damaging as physical abuse.
If not more.
Keep that in mind the next time you let someone disrespect you egregiously, because they're going to think that it's okay to continue to do that to other people.
Right.
Gotta set and maintain boundaries, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get back to it.
One of the crazy things about verbal abuse is that when you're being verbally abused by someone, they tell you that you're crazy.
Yes.
They tell you that they're not abusing you, which is what researchers call crazy making. So I feel like you're abusing me, right? But you deny that you're abusing me. And in essence, you're denying my ability or my right to feel the consequences of your actions.
Accountability.
Boy. I absolutely love this woman. I need to go check her out. I just love the language that she was using, because it just takes me back to relationship that I was in. And that's exactly how I felt. The verbal abuse is coming because it's not that they're calling you the B word or they're calling you, calling you out of your name. It's just carefully curated words that really hit you to the core. And it's so interesting when you come out of that situation and then you understand that, it's because I didn't have boundaries. You think taking it, because this is how they maybe perceive you, it's very damaging, because I know that's how I was interpreting it. I was like, maybe that's how they see me. And then I was constantly trying to do more to prove that I wasn't the abusive words that they were describing me as, not knowing that all of this was sowing into the emotional abuse, sowing into that, psychological damage that this woman was talking about. And that is why I'm really careful about my words. Just generally, I'm very, very careful about how I word things, and I process a lot of my thoughts so that anything I say can come out in a very gentle manner. And I've been like that, but I find that after therapy, I've been able to really hone in on that and just really work through that, because I think I have a better understanding of my thoughts. I have a better understanding of my emotions. I know how to carefully and skillfully self-regulate and self-soothe so that I'm not dumping that onto somebody else. And it's just, I just love how this woman has spoken about it. And if a lot of women would listen to, videos like this, advice like this, it would remove the shackles that we put upon ourselves. We find ourselves into these situations and it's like, oh, good grief, how did we get here? But yeah, let's continue.
It's kryptonite. You're going to find that if you do have a female partner berating you, she might be resistant to that. But with enough maturity and time, hopefully you guys can patch things up and learn to communicate better. If she is a viable prospect for a future wife and mother, make sure you guys have the couples counseling, because some conflicts are just too big to solve on your own. You might not be able to, especially when people come from different backgrounds and different traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the clip.
It seems so obvious to you that you're being verbally abused, but your partner or your mother, your father, your sibling, your coworker, your friend, they don't admit that they're verbally abusing you. I remember thinking, I just have to say it different this time.
Right.
If I can figure out how to say it,
that was me.
See it, then he'll understand that he's hurting me. With this sarcasm, with these backhanded compliments, with these insults that I'm crazy and I'm a wacko and I'm such a negative person, right? He did not see any of that as abusive. And here I was stuck thinking that if I could just find a way to help him understand that what he's saying is abusive, then he'll stop.
Oh my God, so many realizations, people. One thing that released me from this shackle was understanding the concept that a person who chooses to continue misunderstanding you is a choice. The whole thing is a choice. Because if you offer clarity and they still choose to misunderstand you, you have to understand that it's on them. It's not an invitation for you to then morph into something else to help them understand you better. Because at the core of it all, are you listening? At the core of it all, if and when they choose to understand where you're coming from, it requires them to change their behavior towards you. And because they do not want to change their behavior towards you, stop the verbal abuse, stop the emotional manipulation, stop the physical abuse, they will continue to remain in the stance that they do not understand you and that you are the crazy one and that they will gaslight your own reality. This is what happens. So please, ladies, understand this. Educate yourself and, take accountability for your part to play in those situations where you cause yourself or contribute to your own suffering. But at the same time, when you see these things coming, you've explained yourself, you're coming from a good place. If you have explained something and someone still continues to misunderstand you, understand that that's not your invitation to continue proving yourself. It's on them, because understand that the minute they choose to understand you, that means they need to change their behavior, and that's not something they want to do. Or sometimes they just don't have the capacity. They don't have the capacity to be a moral person. They don't have the capacity to be, or take accountability or responsibility of that action towards you. Okay? So yeah, let's just keep going.
That was my thinking. And it was the wrong train of thought. It kept me stuck for many years. And it also caused me to doubt my reality.
Yeah.
Because I thought that it was me. I just wasn't communicating this idea that he was being verbally abusive
While Lisa Romano has her experience with her ex-husband, I believe this can still happen between men and women where the woman is propagating the violence. I am wondering how many men are out there who really believe that if they logically lay out why their female partner's actions are abusive, that she's going to see the light and she's going to change and make a difference. Majority of the time, that's not going to be true. There are several forms of logic. There's ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is when you use ethics to justify an argument. Pathos is when you use emotion to justify an argument. And logos is logic to use to justify an argument. When women, well, anyone really, is in a hyper-emotional state, you're going to have a hard time breaking through those emotions and providing logic. So it's probably best if you're finding yourself in that situation as a man to wait until things cool down and try again later. It's the same thing for women. When you know that your man is past the point of no return because he is way too angry to talk to, it's probably best to table it for another time. But I do recommend intervening, especially if there are children in the home. We have to start holding people accountable, guys. It is the next generation that's going to suffer if we get complacent with bad behavior. Back to the clip.
Yeah, and I think one of the key questions to ask someone you are dating is how they deal with conflicts. And when conflicts arise, how do they like to handle it or approach it? Some people like to walk away. Some people like to, have space. Some people don't want you to have space at all. Anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and the ones that are disorganized and all of that shebang. I think it's so amazing, or not amazing. I think it's so imperative that we ask these necessary questions and we skip the whole, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite hobby? Those are not important, those are surface questions. Ask them, what is your attachment style? Ask them, when conflicts arise, do you prefer that you have space? And then if their answer is yes, and maybe you are from an anxious attachment who gets dysregulated when people move away because it triggers your abandonment and stuff like that. That is the moment where you communicate that, okay, if you need space, I would really appreciate it if you communicated that to me that, babe, feelings are heightening. I'm going to need some space and then I will reconvene when my feelings have gone down. And then you, as the anxious one, can also communicate that, okay, that's fine. I understand that you've communicated this. And just because you've stepped away from me doesn't mean that you are abandoning me in this moment. I will self-soothe in the moments when you need space so that when you're ready to come back, I can still meet you authentically. And I think these are the things that we need to speak about before the issues arise, okay? So that when the issues arise, you kind of know how your partner moves about. And I think it's so important. It's so important. This is what I tell women around me all the time, because if you wait till the moment, you will interpret so much. When the emotions are heightened, that's not when you are trying to figure out if your partner's this, that, and other. When you're triggered, boy, it's hard to be quite logical. That's why it's best to have these conversations beforehand. But yeah, let's keep going.
Verbal abuse happens behind closed doors. And then the verbal abuser, the abuser is denying that there was any verbal abuse. And it could be a female or a male. This is not just a male problem. There are plenty of females that go off. There are plenty of females that are verbally abusive to their children, to their friends, to their neighbors, to their whatever, to their spouses. This is not a male issue.
She is correct.
Yeah, I think even if I'm not... I don't know. I think women probably do it more because they get away with it a lot more. I don't know. I don't have any statistics to prove that. But I know, like with women, if we don't find or get our way, some women can transcend into aggressiveness and even attack or invade space. That can be with their children because they have that authority or that power and they can exercise it, which isn't a good thing. But I'm saying women who cannot control themselves, they cannot control this buccal cavity, this mouth of theirs. Everything is just like, those are the same women who can tip over, and then it turns into invading your privacy, your personal space, i.e. latching onto you, or the vocal cords go up an octave and then more and more and more, hounding this man. And then this man is thinking, oh, if I could just... Women, I remember there was a video where Kevin was talking about, a safe word. If couples are, speaking and it starts to get heated, there's a safe word. And if someone doesn't, goes overboard and, what did I say? How do you say it? So let's say the husband says the safe word and the woman keeps verbally abusing, the man will tap the woman on her bum, and then all of a sudden the internet was in like, how dare you condone domestic abuse, this, that, and other. But I was thinking, why have we just automatically gone to domestic abuse when the woman was part of the problem? She was verbally abusing. How is no one talking about the instigator, the one that fueled the fire to begin with? So had she been able to control her mouth, that wouldn't have happened. Again, I'm not talking about someone who is chronically a physical abuser, the man. I'm saying as women, we also owe it to ourselves to control our mouths, to control our emotions, just so that we don't get ourselves into these kind of predicaments. Again, I'm not saying if you have been domestically abused, it's your fault. That's not what I'm saying. Listen properly, listen objectively. What I'm saying is, as a woman, protect yourself. And in protecting yourself, it means taking accountability and responsibility for the words that come out of your mouth, okay? Because everything has consequences. That is what I'm saying.
It is not just a male issue. It is also a female issue, especially when you want to consider the difference between direct aggression, which would be physical aggression, and indirect aggression, which would be sort of picking on your reputation or shaming you, or, sign language. That's a good way to frame it. At the end of the day, it is still aggression, and we have to look a little bit closer at if this is warranted, because women are not just using sign language on men. They're using it on other women, friends, family, and their children.
Yeah.
And these things can get problematic, especially over time. When you want to look at child abuse, there are 5 forms of child abuse. There is physical neglect, emotional neglect, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and sexual abuse.
Wow.
We know that emotional abuse and verbal abuse are tied together here.
Yeah.
But how can we protect children? What are the statistics on child abuse that we can see?
Wow.
So while this video is about tackling verbal abuse, we have to be mindful that 1 in 7 children, according to the CDC in 2020, is experiencing child abuse.
Wow.
And like I said, there are 5 different realms, but that verbal and emotional abuse does carry some weight. So men, if you've been enduring verbal abuse from a female partner for an extended period of time, and you're finding that your fuse is getting shorter and shorter, or that your mood's being altered, or if you're in a depressed state, you're not crazy.
No.
Words hurt people, and I get that is hard for men to understand. I know that men can understand that words can make them angry.
Yeah.
But to say that words wound them, I'm not sure that they can put that together.
Right.
But we can take a look over here at a Harvard article to see how these verbal attacks affect children. According to this 2009 Harvard article, cutting words may scar young brains. Parental verbal abuse of child appears to damage cerebral pathways.
Wow.
Sticks and stones may break bones, but harsh words may damage a child's brain. New work from Harvard Medical School researchers suggests that parental verbal abuse can injure brain pathways, possibly causing depression, anxiety, and problems with language processing.
Wow.
So if that affects children in that way and they've got malleable brains, what is it doing to adult men?
Right.
Could we get a study for that one?
Yeah.
Let's see how else this impacts children. This article is from the Harvard Gazette, written in 2007. Verbal beatings hurt as much as sexual abuse can lead to depression, anxiety, and worse. The report suggests when verbal abuse is constant and severe, it creates a risk of post-traumatic stress disorder, the same type of psychological collapse experienced by combat troops.
Wow.
The research on which the report is based points out that children who are the target of frequent verbal mistreatment exhibit higher rates of physical aggression, delinquency, and social problems than other children. Many studies tie physical and sexual abuse to lasting effects on the brain and behavior, but emotional mistreatment has not received the same focus. Exposure to verbal aggression has received little attention as a specific form of abuse. Notes Martin Taker, associate professor of psychiatry at McLean Hospital, a Harvard-affiliated psychiatric facility. This, despite the fact that one national study found that 63% of American parents reported one or more instances of verbal aggression, such as swearing at and insulting their child. It is going on around us, and that's why men need to push back.
Right.
I'm not saying push back physically, but start holding women accountable when they're committing verbal abuse, because we are more prone to indirect aggression versus physical aggression.
Right.
It is on us as adults to check other adults when they're not acting the same way. Because if a woman is willing to talk to a man like that, somebody that she loves intimately, wants to spend the rest of her life with,
right.
Well, how is she talking to her kids?
Right.
It can get worse behind closed doors, guys. This is why I'm so passionate about the topics I discuss when it comes to women and helping them to lead full lives, because I am a survivor of child abuse. And when I look at my situation, I look at statistics. Statistically, what I experienced led me to complex PTSD, which is okay. I'm fine. I don't need any empathy in the comments. But how can we look at my example and implement changes so that adult women can better get along with their children?
And this is so, I love how she phrased that, because it all points back to women. You know, it points back to us. There's so much responsibility on us, you know, to be mentally sound, psychologically and emotionally sound. That's why I always say, get some therapy, regardless of being in a relationship or outside of it. Just get a therapist to help you learn how to better self-soothe, better self-regulate your big emotions, you know, understand your triggers. This way, when you are dealing with your children, not even is it dealing, when you are interacting, that's it. When you're interacting with your children, you won't project your anxiety, your depression, your frustration onto them, because you have to understand, from the child's point of view, their brain hasn't fully adopted the concept that their parents are wounded and their parents have issues. All they are hearing or all they are interpreting from our lack is that they are insufficient, or there's something wrong with them. That's why we as parents are doing that or acting in that way. And when I learned about this, anything I'm doing or saying to my son, I'm like, okay, Jemima, just excuse yourself. Just say in a gentle way that, Bubs, Zai, Mummy's gonna need 5 minutes to just regulate her emotions, and Mummy's gonna be back, you know, just so that I'm not saying something that will stick and damage him for good. And if you haven't seen my boy mum reaction video, where, what's the gentleman's name? I've forgotten the name, but I'm going to link it up in the cards and down below. When a woman, so when the mother criticizes or tells off their son, the way the brain interprets it is totally different. It's totally different from when the man, as in the father, says the same thing to the son. From the father's point of view, it empowers this young man. But from the woman's point of view, as in the mother's point of view, it in a way damages the man, the boy, because their brain wants to protect the feminine. The brain wants to provide from the feminine for the feminine. So if the mother is doing all these things, the boy is just thinking, what is going on? So if you take it back to our community, where there's so many single mothers who are raising so many children out of wedlock by different men, you can understand the confusion that these children are going through in that household. So it comes back to us women. It comes back to us. But yeah, I have to end it here. This was such a beautiful video. Uh-oh, my battery. Ugh. Oof. I'm going to have to end it here. It's probably blurry. Let's see. Oh, no, it's all right, actually. I'm going to have to end it here because nursery run. So thanks, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and obviously hit the subscribe button as well. Come join the family. But yeah, until next time, take care and God bless. Bye-bye.